right. Good evening, folks. This is the Bicoastal Baseball Podcast on the Grid Network. I'm Mike Guido. That's Dalton Brown. I apologize profusely for my hair. I don't know what is going on up here. I'm so overdue for a haircut. It's ridiculous. But I hope you enjoyed All-Star Week. We are back at it again for the second half of the Major League Baseball season. Dalton, how are we feeling? Have we kind of recovered from maybe the midsummer burnout that happens every year in Major League Baseball?
Well, I can tell you that the Dodgers haven't, but we'll get into that in just a moment. But yeah, I mean, I never really get burned out with baseball, to be honest. Mm-hmm. So I'm just glad the trade deadline's over. I can't stand it. So, or not the trade deadline, the All-Star break, excuse me. Yep. But I can't stand that Wednesday, Thursday of last week when you don't get any baseball.
Yeah.
It's just disgusting. It's brutal.
Yeah.
So, it's good to have games back on and good to be back talking about it. Last week, I know we didn't want to interrupt people watching the Home Run Derby, which congrats to Cal Raleigh. I'm excited to talk about All-Star Week and what we saw as well. I'll tease it by saying that this was one of my favorite All-Star games we've had in quite a while. Mm-hmm. I thought it was really cool. So, yeah. But yeah, man, I'm excited to talk some ball. I'm excited to yell at the Dodgers a little bit for just not playing good baseball.
Yeah. It's been a rough go of it for them. We have plenty of stuff to go over today. We're going to do something a little bit fun. I mean, at least fun for me, because I like playing like matchmaker and these sort of things, right? I like making predictions. I think that's one of the most fun things to do in sports media is to just fantasize about stuff. Like, honestly, like that's the coolest part. So we'll go through some contenders and we'll try to give out players that could make a good fit for them at the trade deadline. See, and again, I don't know how Dalton made his list. I haven't seen it, whatever. Mine are like, maybe a little, like I said before the show, like a little anticlimactic. Like, I feel like mine are pretty realistic rather than like, like the Tigers are going to trade for Shohei Ohtani. Like, it's not going to be like that sort of deal. But there's names in there. It's not like anybody's unrecognizable. But again, we'll do that a little bit later today. That should be fun. How bought in are we on the Milwaukee Brewers? I mean, 10-game win streak. They're sitting atop the NL Central right now, right there with the Cubs. Are we kind of bought in on the Brewers as they seemingly surprise people again, having success in the National League? Maybe we got to start giving them more credit. We'll talk about that a little bit later. We'll talk about the Home Run Derby, the All-Star Weekend, the All-Star Week. We will discuss all of that. But first, we cater to our own fan bases. Sorry, not sorry. Dodgers, Yankees. Dalton, you're the defending champs, so you get to go first. And I was excited leading up into this episode because you texted me something along the lines of, I'm going to absolutely shit on the LA Dodgers. They've had a rough go of it, Dalton, so let's hear it.
Well, look, it's teams go through bad stretches. It happens. I think what the straw that's kind of broken my back with the Dodgers lately has been just the sheer complacency. Guys just not playing with any focus, with any intensity. The number of base hits I've seen toward Teoscar Hernandez this year that he just doesn't field effectively because he's looking up to make his throw, or the number of balls that get by him into the corner, into the gap, because he's just kind of jogging after it. The number of balls he's seemingly losing in the sun and just not really picking up because he's not ready for the ball to be hit to him. It's starting to bleed to other places on the team. We've seen Miguel Rojas make errors. Andy Pajes, who's been amazing defensively yesterday, just didn't catch a ball that he should have. Esteury Ruiz was an adventure in left field yesterday. It's just been like a total mess. And you could see Clayton Kershaw yesterday after the game, the frustration started to boil over because he pitched pretty well, but 3 errors from the outfield in 1 inning and a 3-0 lead is immediately gone. And then here we go again to another game where the Brewers have the better bullpen late, and the Brewers finished off a 6-0 season against the Dodgers. Look, some of it is, and to provide some context, the Dodgers have lost 10 of 12. It's the worst stretch they've had since at least 2018. In 2020, early 2021, they had a similar stretch where they went 3-10. I believe it was April 2018. They had a stretch similar to this, but this is not something we've seen much during this era of Dodger baseball, let alone this season. To provide some context around what's causing it, they've kind of been bad everywhere. They've been bottom half of the league in starting pitching ERA, bottom third of the league in bullpen ERA, 22nd in WRC plus against left-handed pitching, 29th in WRC plus against right-handed pitching, only ahead of Pittsburgh. The causes of it, Mookie Betts is in the midst of the worst healthy season of his career. Freddie Freeman hasn't been able to hit for the last month and a half. Teoscar Hernandez has been doing I don't really know what for the last month and a half, hasn't really been playing defense or hitting. And then Max Muncy has already been out for a few weeks. And then you have other guys who just aren't performing. The left field spot's been a black hole all year between guys like Michael Conforto and Esteury Ruiz. Tommy Edman batting in the 220s is just not good enough when you're Tommy Edman. So other than Will Smith and Shohei Ohtani, it's been just comedically bad offensively. And, you combine that with beat up starting pitching that's led to a lot of starts from rookies and bullpen games and everything else. And it's kind of been a mess. So that's the silver lining for the Dodgers. Tyler Glasnow is back healthy. I thought he looked actually really good Friday night in the loss. Shohei Ohtani looks unhittable, and he's up to 3 innings. I hope maybe he throws 4 innings tonight. But that looks like it's going to be a big problem for teams come October. Blake Snell, pitching in the minors, been striking out a lot of guys. Looks like he's about to make his return to the rotation. And Blake Treinen will be back in the bullpen within a few weeks. Actually, might even be back in the bullpen like within a week. And then Max Muncy, his injury seemed really serious when it happened. Now it sounds like that's going to be more a matter of a couple weeks, not a few months. So those are the positives. Like, reinforcements are coming. Things can't get worse. They can only get better. I liked the fire that I saw in Kershaw yesterday. I think when your leader, especially somebody who's usually a quieter leader like him, is that level of pissed, I think that's the kind of thing that can wake up a clubhouse a little bit. So, spoiler alert, because we're going to talk through my hot corner later, but I think the Dodgers are going to wake up in a hurry now that they're through facing the Brewers 6 times in 2 weeks, who are the hottest team in baseball.
Yeah. Hottest team in baseball. Before the All-Star break, there was they suffered a 7-game losing streak, getting swept at home by the Astros and then getting swept by the Brewers in Milwaukee. Again, like you mentioned, they're the hottest team in baseball right now. They took 2 of 3 from the Giants right before the break, but then just, again, right out of the break, getting swept again by the Brewers, who are continuing how well they've played over the past couple of weeks. And now they go, what do they have? They're back home again with the Twins. Then they go play the Red Sox, the Reds. I mean, these are not juggernaut teams. These are not teams that they should be, super struggling with. I mean, like the Red Sox are fairly good. The Twins are not terrible. And, but, the Dodgers are clearly a better team. And I do think that as they get healthier, I think Ohtani, once he gets ramped up, I think that's going to help a lot. And again, Dalton, this is just what happens in the summer months of the year. You know what I mean? It gets brutally hot in a lot of places. It gets unbelievably muggy and gross, and everybody gets tired. And like, even though they're professional athletes, like, they're still human beings that feel weather. And, when you play 162 games a year, this is just what happens. So I do think the Dodgers will be fine, but it is something that grows concern, especially if you're the Dodgers and you play in a division that's as tough as theirs.
Well, that's the thing, right? The Padres aren't going anywhere. The Giants, we'll see, but the Padres aren't going anywhere. Look, I'll give them this. The Dodgers were playing exceptional baseball against bad teams before that Houston series. Houston came into that series winners of 6 in a row. Milwaukee came into that first series against the Dodgers. I think it was winners of 7 of 8. So, like, the Brewers were already hot. Houston was already hot. And the one team we faced in the last 2 weeks that wasn't hot, we took 2 out of 3. So, like, there's a world in which the answer is you happen to play the two hottest team in baseball for 9 of your last 12 games, right? Like that the answer could be as simple as that. Like you're just not playing particularly well and these teams are. That's part of why I'm anticipating a little bit of a bounce back here. Like the Twins are playing 500 baseball and they look like a 500 team. Like that's a team that they come into Dodger Stadium, you should be pissed off and you should sweep this team. That's that's what I'd like to see. If we win 2 out of 3, I'll live with it. But like this is a team I'd like to see us sweep. And that's not meant as an insult to the Twins. I think they're a decent ball club, but I'd like to see the Dodgers show a little bit of fire here. And you're right. I mean, you look at the stretch they have coming up, and really for the rest of the season, this is not a murderer's row of a schedule.
No.
So, I'd like to. I have a feeling they're about to come out of it. Just something about the energy I saw yesterday post game. I think we're going to see a little bit of a more focused team moving forward, which is very necessary at this point. But let's hear about your Bronx Bombers.
Yeah, I want to make something clear here because this is a very interesting spot for a Yankee fan, right? Because they have not been playing good baseball since before the break, right? And now right out of the break, you take 2 out of 3 in Atlanta, but those are some scary games that you went into. I mean, when you win, you lost 7-3 in the opening game of that series. Then you win 12-9 on Saturday, but you were down like 7-0 before that. So like it just took an astronomical comeback and a go-ahead grand slam from Trent Grisham to pretty much seal that game. So it was a very uncomfortable series in Atlanta. And now you're heading into a series against the Blue Jays, who are 3 games ahead of you. You're in Toronto. I mean, this is a massive series for the course of the season. I mean, because we're at the point now, Dalton, where like we're in the middle of July, and I get that there's still like 2.5 months of baseball left, but let's say, for example, the Yankees get swept here by the Blue Jays, and they're 6 games back now of the division. Like that's a steep hill to climb this deep in the year. Like it just is. So this is a very, very, very important series for the Yankees. Right now they're up 1-0. Thank goodness. Stanton homered. But this is going to be a very interesting next couple of weeks for the Yankees because I expect them to go absolutely apeshit at the deadline. Like, and they've said so themselves.
Yeah.
Like they are going bonkers at the deadline. There's no prospect hugging here. I wouldn't be surprised if George Lombard is the only guy that they claim to be untouchable and everybody else. And that includes Spencer Jones, who has 1,000 OPS in the minor leagues this year. He's got 26 homers between AA and AAA. He's been tearing up the minor leagues. Okay. Even somebody like Cam Schlittler, who throws 100, got fast tracked to the big leagues because he's been so dominant. It wouldn't surprise me if he went. People are already kind of drawing the line of like, okay, Eugenio Suarez is just going to go from Arizona, straight line over to the Bronx, and that's going to be that. So I do think that we're going to see a very different, I shouldn't say very different. We're going to see a modified Yankee team in the next couple of weeks. I think they're going to, they're not going to penny pinch here. It's not going to be like last year where their big guy that they brought in last year outside of Jazz Chisholm was Enyel De Los Santos. I mean, I think we're going to, like, we could have a deadline, honestly, where we look at Eugenio Suarez, Yohan Duran, and Mitch Keller. And, like, that's huge. Huge.
Look, if they did that, I mean, that would be huge. I have my doubts that they're going to go that heavy. I do. I think they're going to be active, but I don't know if they're going to trade the entire farm active.
Well, I don't know that they're going to do that either, but I also think that their hands are in a lot of different cookie jars, I think.
Yeah.
And we're going to see a bunch of big splashes with this. Here's the thing. The Yankees are in an uncomfortable spot because if Aaron Judge doesn't hit, they don't hit. Okay. We've already kind of seen what this team is as far as, them from a developmental standpoint, guys like Wells and Volpe and these guys that are just, I don't want to say, I mean, Volpe especially, but guys that you had high expectations for, and they're just okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Schmidt going down. I mean, we're talking about a team that now has a lot of holes to fill and are in a not so safe space here. 2 games into the first wild card spot, 3 games back of the division in an American League that seems as jumbled as it can possibly be, right around the middle. Like outside of the Tigers, I don't know that there's a team out there right now that that really feels as good as they possibly can. Even the Astros. I mean, the Astros are in a position where they're a bit ahead of the Mariners, but like the AL East is still open. The AL West is technically still open. The Tigers are feeling pretty comfortable right now, but after that, they're like it's open season here. So I'm nervous as a Yankee fan. I think it can go downhill very, very quickly. This is a team that is a lot like last year. I don't think it has the same negative, like full-blown negative floor that last year's team did, but I also think that this is it's similar to where it can go downhill fairly fast. So we'll see. They got to start playing a little bit better baseball, I think, leading into the deadline, and then especially after the deadline, they really need to see some improvement because this division can get away from them, not even just from the Blue Jays, but the Red Sox. Tampa Bay is still in it. I still think that there's a lot of room for error here. So I don't know. I'm a little uneasy as a Yankee fan now.
I mean, I get it. Being 3 games back in the division is not comfortable. This stretch for them over the next 10 days is going to define their season in a lot of ways, right? You mentioned it, not just the games with Toronto and what happens on the field, but also the deadline is going to be a massive inflection point for them. I tend to doubt that somebody like Spencer Jones gets moved.
Mm-hmm.
I just think they would really like to get him up to the big leagues and prove something about their farm system. But we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I think they're going to be in the market for both hitting and pitching. And I would be shocked if they, I'll put it this way. I would set the over under on Yankees trades at the deadline at 2.5. I don't think this is a team that makes one move and just calls it. So it'll definitely be interesting. I think there's a lot of pressure on them to do so. You and I talked ad nauseum preseason about Juan Soto leaving town. And while I think they've done a decent job of signing players to make up for that, if you're heading into the playoffs as a wild card team, the voices are going to get louder.
Yeah, right. So I don't know. We'll see as it goes on. We'll talk a little bit more about deadline and stuff that could be on the move a little bit later. But before we get into the other, into the meat and potatoes here, let's give you a little bit of a score update. We have a bunch of games underway already on this Monday, July 21st. Yankees up right now, 1-0 in the top of the 5th. They're over the Blue Jays in Toronto. Padres with a 2-1 lead over Miami. That's in Miami. They're up 2-1 in the top of the 6th. Pirates with a 3-0 lead over the Detroit Tigers in Pittsburgh. That's in the top of the 6th. Baltimore with a 5-4 lead over Cleveland in the bottom of the 5th. Actually, no, scratch that. That game just got tied just now, bottom of the 5th. So it's Orioles, Guardians 5-5 in the bottom of the 5th. Nationals with an 8-5 lead over the Reds in Washington. That's in the top of the 5th. Red Sox and Phillies, they're knotted at 2 in Philadelphia in the bottom of the 6th. And the Angels with a 4-0 lead over the Mets in Queens. They're in the bottom of the 4th. Giants down on the Braves. The Braves right now with a 5-2 lead over the Giants in Atlanta. That's in the bottom, heading into the bottom of the 3rd. White Sox with a 3-0 lead over the Rays in Tampa. That's heading into the top of the 3rd. First inning, bottom of the 1st. A's and Rangers still scoreless in Texas. And then the Royals and Cubs are still scoreless in Chicago in the top of the 2nd. And then we got 4 more games tonight. So Cardinals, Rockies in Colorado. It's McGreevy and Gomber on the bump for that one. Brewers and Mariners. That's Brandon Woodruff and George Kirby on the bump. That's a good pitching matchup right there. That's in Seattle. Astros and Diamondbacks. Gordon and Gallen on the bump for that. That's in Arizona. and the Twins and Dodgers in Los Angeles. That is David Festa and Shohei Ohtani on the bump for that one in LA. Okay, so let's move to this, Dalton. So home run derby and the All-Star game. So Cal Raleigh wins it. That's exciting. I mean, I was sitting in my grandfather's house in Buffalo watching the home run derby, listening to Carl Ravitch. If I was playing a drinking game and I took a shot every time he said big dumper, I would have been on the floor hammered. Like, it was unbelievable how, like, I texted you during it. I'm like, ESPN wants Cal Raleigh to win this thing so bad. So bad. So, I don't know. I'm sure this is not the direction you really wanted this to go in, but I'll let you kind of take the lead on this. What are your takeaways from the All-Star game, home run derby, the whole All-Star festivities?
Well, part of the reason that I'm laughing to myself is I am completely in lockstep with you on the idea that, like, when I watch the derby, it's really hard for me to get past Carl Ravitch. Like, he just has no passion for the sport, and you can hear it. And so I agree. It's really a painful watch. Like, ESPN's baseball coverage is horrendous, and the home run derby is a big part of why. I also, and you and I talked about this too, like, the home run derby doesn't need to be this thing that has such speed to it. Like,
dude,
take your time and hit dingers, man. Go back. Like nobody was in a hurry when you had Chris Berman going back. Nobody was in a hurry.
Nobody.
Like, just sit back and let us enjoy it.
If you could just, dude, O'Neal Cruz hit a 520-foot home run. Like, before the ball even reached its apex, we were on to the next pitch.
Yeah.
I'm like, let me admire that for a second. Like holy crap.
Right. I mean, that's the home run derby now is a way better live event than TV event because of that.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, the coverage of it, I couldn't stand. I thought it was cool that Cal Raleigh won. Just because I think it's a cool way to, like, appreciate the absurd season that he's having.
Sure.
Like, I like that he got that moment. He also just seems like a really likable guy.
Yeah.
And, being out there with his dad and his brother, like, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's cool.
What we're not going to do is sit here and him and haw about people talking about him winning MVP, because we're halfway through the season. I don't think you need to worry too much yet.
Don't even get me started.
I know, but because Mike, we're not doing, like, we did this with Bobby Witt last year, and what I don't want this show to be is every time another hitter in the AL is good, we have to talk about how Judge is better. I just don't want to be that show.
I get it.
But yeah, I loved watching Cal Raleigh, kind of get that moment. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, no, it was definitely cool for them and their family. Really, really nice moment for them, and I think that was covered extensively as well. Can I bring up one thing about how lame I thought it was that they measured Cal Raleigh's home run over Brent Rooker's by like 5/100ths of an inch or whatever the hell it was? Like, that is so stupid.
It's just a lie too. Like, you don't have that level of measurement on that.
There's no chance.
It's just dishonest.
That it 100% is dishonest. And as just a consumer, okay, like, if you really wanted it to go that quickly, all right, Cal Raleigh and Brent Rooker have one shot to hit a home run. They've one swing, okay? Or just the first home run they hit, measure that one, period. Like, one swing off, one home run swing off, let Brent Rooker hit, let Cal Raleigh hit, whoever hit it further moves on. If you want to do it that way, right?
Yeah.
Because like that, I think, is at least, like, somebody's going to hit it 450 and somebody's going to hit it 465. Like, you're not going to get, 450.34 and 450.32. Like, that's oh my God, that was so stupid and lame. Like, I don't know. And I'm not anti-analytic at all. I really am not. And you know that. But, like, that was, if you wanted to piss off people that hate all, like, the stat cast, like, and how everything's become so nerdy in baseball. Like, that's a perfect way to piss people off. It really, really is, dude. So that annoyed me a little bit, but
yeah, I mean, it's just so dishonest, right? Like, I would rather them be like, listen, we'd rather see Raleigh move on, fan vote, or just make up some bullshit and say that. But yeah, that was, I don't know, that was not my favorite either.
So let's, outside of the home run derby, let's talk about the All-Star game. It was the first time we got to experience the swing off format for the end of an All-Star game. Every Met fan is pissed off now because they think Pete Alonso got robbed of All-Star game MVP for Kyle Schwarber because Kyle Schwarber got to play in the swing off or hit homers in the swing off. So what do you make of that whole thing now that Major League Baseball has kind of shifted into that format for the All-Star game?
I absolutely loved it. I think it's the perfect solution to that scenario, right? Because you remember, I think it was back in like 2004, we had an All-Star game that ended in a tie. People were furious. That led to Bud Selig deciding that the All-Star game was going to decide home field advantage in the World Series, which is still one of the most insane decisions a commissioner has made in any American sport in our lifetime.
Yeah, right.
And the fact that it lasted as long as it did is equally absurd. But you know, I think that what I loved about it is that you had the players from both sides out on the field acting like little kids watching this home run derby. Like, the pure emotion of it felt like watching a scrimmage at the end of practice for your little league team where everybody's out there having a ton of fun. Like, it was great television. The only thing I would like to see them do differently is, like, I mean, obviously you'd like to see a little bit of bigger names hitting in it.
Yeah, right.
But I also, like, it was kind of fun that it was Kyle Stowers and guys like that.
And Jonathan Aranda. And
like, right. There's a certain charm to it that it's like, well, it's the guys that were still in the game because everybody else left, which, by the way, for the people who don't know, like, players leaving during the All-Star game is totally normal. Like, that's just part of it. These guys want to go enjoy the little bit of break they have left. But no, honestly, I'm going to be rooting for every All-Star game to end in a tie, and I'm going to be thinking of ways. I'm going to be trying to come up with ways that they can, like, incorporate this more. And look, there are some people who are like, oh, well, this is going to start bleeding into the regular season. Look, my distrust for Manfred is pretty high. I don't think this is ever going to become a thing in regular games. I think he's smarter than that. I'll at least say that.
I don't think so either.
But yeah, I mean, look, I'm glad the All-Star game doesn't determine home field advantage of the World Series anymore. Like, I'm glad they got rid of that a few years ago.
Thank goodness.
I think this is a way better solution. And it was fun. I thought it was great, Mike. What did you think?
Yeah, no, I thought it was electric. I really did, because, like, the All-Star, it's not even just a baseball thing. And I think baseball has, you know, unbiased. I think baseball is the best version of it, right? I think they have the cleanest All-Star game of any other professional sport, right? The NBA All-Star game's a joke. And, like, I don't think anybody even watches the Pro Bowl anymore. The Pro Bowl isn't even a thing anymore. It's just, like, but All-Star weekend or All-Star, any of the All-Star festivities, they've just lost so much luster over the years. Like, they just have become so meaningless in a lot of ways. So in some sort of aspect, you have to make it kind of gimmicky. You do. Like, and like, I don't really like that that's the way it is, because I like appreciating the game for the game. But, like, look, dude, like, I'd be lying if I said that I was like, even in the bad years recently, that I was a constant watcher of the All-Star game. There are years I don't watch it. I just don't watch it because I don't want to. You know, like, it doesn't, like, I'm even a culprit of that. So I do like it. It brings excitement. It puts like, one thing that, like, basketball has that Major League Baseball doesn't really have is, like, the spotlight on a singular player in a big moment, right? Like, you have, like if Aaron Judge is a big at bat, like, yeah, that counts. But it's also, like, if he's going up against Emmanuel Clase, it's a big moment for that guy too. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so it doesn't have the same sort of individuality that I think basketball has. In this case, it's like, all right, game 7, 5 seconds left on the clock. Like, this is as close as baseball is going to get to that feeling. So, like, I'm for it, dude. Like, I really am. I think it was really, really cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you said it. I think you said it exactly right. By the way, one other thing I want to mention, I am so glad they went back to wearing the home and road uniforms.
I agree. Yeah.
It also was a stark reminder that the Rays and Mariners got rid of their road grays and don't wear them anymore.
Yeah.
I would love it if MLB would let them throw on a road gray just for that game for continuity, but not a big deal.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, listen, most people hate the road grays anyway for any team. Like, they just think it's so bland and gross. Oh, good. The Yankees are losing now. Excellent. It's 2-1. The Blue Jays just took the lead. Okay, continue on. Muscle on. Anywho, let's talk about how hot the Brewers have been. They've been absolutely outstanding. They're tied right now with the Cubs in the NL Central. Both 59 and 40 at the top of the NL Centrals. Reds are 7.5 back. Cardinals are 8.5 back. But the Brewers have won 10 straight. They have been so unbelievably good. And they sort of did this last year, and not to the extent of what they're doing it now. But everybody thought the Brewers were going to suck last year, and they didn't. You and I both sat here and said the Brewers are going to be, we didn't see how they were going to get any better, right? They lost guys in free agency, and they didn't really do much to improve themselves over the offseason. Like, okay, they're sitting 59 and 40. They're tied with the Cubs for the NL Central League.
Yeah.
So how bought in are you with this? Because, is it kind of time to start saying, the Brewers are the NL version of the Rays, and it just doesn't really matter what they have, and they figure things out anyway? Like, what's the deal with this?
Yeah, I'm a little bit on the fence on it. There's part of me that's super bought in because I just watched them beat the Dodgers 6 times in 2 weeks, and I'm like, God damn, these guys are good.
Yeah.
But there's that recency bias part of me that's super bought in. I'll say this: I think offensively, there's still a lot to be desired there. They don't chase pitches at all. They don't strike out much. They put the ball in play a lot. And I think that works to their advantage more often than maybe it should, because this is not a team that hits for power. It's not a team that creates launch angle. It's not a team that is going to go gap to gap a ton, right? They're a singles hitting team. They lead baseball in the number of times that they've bunted. So they have an identity that they embrace, that their manager very much embraces in terms of his quotes, talking about how they're not, how they're just a bunch of nobodies. And I think if you're going to be a team like the Brewers, you have to embrace that identity, right? There's shades of the Royals of the mid 20 teens in it, where they know who they are and they want to lean into that. From a pitching perspective, though, this is what makes me think that they are the kind of team that could sneak into a World Series appearance. And I'm not saying that I think it's likely, but I think it's possible, because their rotation right now is legitimately 5 deep with guys that are usually going to be better than their opponent. Like Freddie Peralta, Quinn Priester with what he's become now, Jose Quintana, Jacob Mizorowski, and Brandon Woodruff. Every single one of those guys is well above league average for starters. And you feel it when you're facing them. Now, what's interesting is the way they're managed. They've only had pitchers get into the 7th inning 3 times this year, I think. It's just not something that they do very often.
Crazy. Yeah.
But part of it is Trevor McGill is a demon at the back of the bullpen.
He is.
And then, Aaron Ashby has turned into a really nice bullpen piece. Jared Koenig is another lefty who's been pitching well. Abner Uribe looks pretty good. I mean, that guy throws 100,000 miles an hour.
Remember when we made fun last year at the trade deadline? We made fun of the Brewers getting Nick Mears. We were like, that's it.
Yeah. This is what they do. They develop pitching. And, I think this is where the Rays comp is really strong, right? And so I think the bullpen is really solid top to bottom. But Mike, if you put their starting rotation 1 through 5 against anybody's rotation in baseball right now, given injuries across the league,
Sure.
this might be the best one in baseball right now.
Yeah, I don't think that that's too far of a stretch. I
And
don't
so,
think that's too far. Yeah.
like given that, right? If the playoffs started today, they're going to be a tough out in a short series with this staff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be interesting because Freddie Peralta certainly looks like he's turning into a frontline starter, right? And he wasn't in years past, but he is now. Jacob Mizorowski is one of the top stories in baseball. He's a stud. That kid can really pitch. So yeah, this is a team that I think is going to live and die by their pitching. I just again, this time of year, I just kind of look at what they can do to improve. If they can insert any semblance of pop into this lineup, right? They're down 5-3 or something. And they have somebody in their lineup where they come in, like they get into a big spot and they can smack a 2 or 3 run homer to get them back into a ball game. That's the thing that they're missing right now, right? Because who's their team leader in home runs right now? Is it Yelich? And Yelich has 19. Like, it's just like Yelich has 19, Churio has 16, and Rhys Hoskins has 12. Everybody else is in single digits. They don't hit homers. They have no pop. So if they can find a bat somewhere to just a bat or two to just add a little bit more power into this lineup, then I agree with you. The thing that gives me pause about them is not necessarily them. It is the National League as a whole. Okay. I agree with you in the sense that that is a rotation that's going to be a tough out because you're not necessarily getting a break, right? Peralta, Priester, Mizorowski, Quintana, Woodruff, whoever they decide to throw out in a playoff rotation, it certainly isn't like you're not getting a break game. But I also feel that way about the Dodgers. Like, I also sort of feel that way about the Padres. Like, I still kind of feel that way about the Phillies. You know what I mean? But those teams I just think are better than the Brewers in the grand scheme of things, right? When it comes down to September, October baseball, I think I trust the Phillies more than the Brewers. I think I trust the Padres more than the Brewers. Like, that's kind of what's giving me pause. It's like, yeah, they're really good right now. And could they make a run in the postseason? Yeah. But that's kind of still how I see them. They seem like to me like they're a team that would need to make a run instead of legitimately belonging there. Does that make sense? Like, that's kind of how I view them now.
I mean, I get it. Like, I think, look, if the Dodgers are going to be healthier than they are now, right? Like, the Padres are getting pitching back. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they're a favorite in the NL by any means, right? I'm just saying that they have the kind of rotation that can make a sneaky run.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, wow, the NL, like the team that made it out of the NL was not the best team in the NL, but man, they can pitch. You know what I mean? Like right. I think you can win a World Series built the way they're built.
I think you can too. But if they go up against and I'll just use the Dodgers as an example, just because we've been talking about them all year and they're the perceived favorite since the beginning of the season, right? Like, okay, the Brewers are going to throw out a 4-man rotation of Peralta, Mizorowski, Woodruff, and Quintana, maybe. Okay. The Dodgers are going to look at what? Yamamoto, Ohtani, Snell, and Glasnow? Like,
if they're healthy.
Like, well, yeah. Well, again, barring health, but then the Dodgers also have Ohtani and Freeman and Mookie Betts and Teoscar, and like they can hit, 400 bombs a year. Like, so, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of what gives me pause about the Brewers is like, yeah, do I think they're good enough to go to a World Series? Yeah, they probably are, but everybody else is too.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the NL is stacked. I mean, any team that gets out of the NL will have earned it.
Right. So it's interesting because they are a very interesting team, and what they've done over the past couple of weeks is outstanding. Because I did not think that they would be where they are, and they certainly have proved a lot of people wrong. But I also still think I like the Cubs better than them. Like I still think the Cubs might be a better baseball team.
I would agree. I think the Cubs, you could make an argument that right now the Cubs are the best team in baseball. Like I wouldn't totally think that that's crazy. So, yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see where this goes, but I want to save a bunch of time for this too, because like this is the part that I'm really excited about. Let's talk about a little bit of like matchmaking here with some of these contending teams. Trade deadline's coming up. I'm sure that by the time we talk next week, there's going to be some moves already made, right? So let's try to get some matches made now. So we have some contenders listed. We have 6 contenders right now in the American League and 7 in the National League. So let's talk about some of these fits, what they need, how they can address some of the issues. Let's start here at Dalton with the Toronto Blue Jays, who right now have a 4-1 lead over the Yankees and ripping my heart into a million pieces. But let's start with the Toronto Blue Jays. We've talked about this before, but who do you think could be a good fit? What's something that they need to address at the deadline?
So I'd like to propose that we do this a certain way.
Okay.
Which is that and you can let me know what you think of this, but okay. I think we just go back and forth team by team and just like I throw out a name, you throw out a name for each team, and then we just kind of go back and forth on each one.
Okay.
So we'll start with Toronto. I think that's a good place to start.
Okay.
And the way I did this, and I think this is probably the way you did it too, a lot of these teams, there are multiple names that I wanted to write down. And I think that a lot of these teams are going to be more active than doing one thing. But what I wrote down is the move that I think is most likely, right? If you told me, hey, you have to pick one player that you think they're going to acquire, this is who I'd pick.
Yeah.
For Toronto, I went with Mitch Keller of the Pittsburgh Pirates. I think Keller makes sense for a couple reasons. Number one, I don't think they want to deal him to the Cubs or really within the NL if they can help it. And this is a guy who's signed through 2028, fills a huge hole in their rotation as guys in their rotation like Bassett and Gausman start to age. They desperately need rotation help if they're going to compete in the playoffs. Like Barrios, Gausman, and Bassett. Like, don't get me wrong, these guys are serviceable, but this is not a playoff rotation. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. I think Mitch Keller is a perfect fit there.
Mitch Keller makes sense. I'm going to start hot and go Zach Gallen because I think that they need to take a shot at getting a top of the rotation arm if they're going to compete in the postseason. Now, Zach Gallen hasn't pitched like a top of the rotation starter this year. His ERA is over 5, but in recent starts, he's looked a lot better. So I think that they're going to look at that and say, listen, for 2 months or 2.5 months of Zach Gallen, if we're in a position here, we might be able to get him at a little bit of a discount and try to bolster this rotation with at the very worst, he's another middle of the rotation arm. At the very best, he's the guy that anchors our staff. So I think it's Zach Gallen for the Blue Jays.
I think it's a great pick.
Okay, New York Yankees.
I really wanted to not do this because I think I already know where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
Eugenio Suarez is ultimately what I think is going to happen there. I think there are 2 teams that are going to be most involved in third base. I think it's going to be the Yankees and the Cubs. I could see Suarez landing either of those places, but I think the Yankees are entering this deadline with a certain chip on their shoulder that they don't want to get beat to their guy. And so Eugenio Suarez has been tied to the Yankees all season. I do think Arizona is going to make them pay a premium, so I'm curious to see what that looks like. Even though Suarez is not signed for some, but it's the most obvious fit. I think he'll fit like a glove in their lineup. I have a feeling that you have the same thing there.
I do. I think it's Eugenio Suarez. It wouldn't surprise me also if the Yankees didn't just get Eugenio Suarez from the Diamondbacks. Like if they're going to pay a premium, because I agree with you. I think that there's a chance the Diamondbacks say, listen, you want Suarez, then you're going to have to give us something real good. And the Yankees might counter that by saying, all right, if you want something real good, you're going to have to part with Eugenio Suarez and Merrill Kelly or something like that. So I do think that that's a realistic option. Adding Suarez to the middle of this lineup and having him play third base, I think drastically changes what this lineup looks like, because you're now not hitting guys like Paul Goldschmidt in the 5 hole. You're hitting him in like the 7 hole. Like that just makes it just gives it so much more depth. And even if he is a rental piece, I mean, the guy's got 35 bombs on the year. Like the only guys that have more bombs than him on the year are Raleigh and Judge. Like this guy is raking this year. And I think he's going to have a lot of success if he goes to Yankee Stadium. So yeah, I it's been so rumored, and I know that it might be kind of boring at this point. Eugenio Suarez to the Yankees makes so much sense. My dream scenario, and I know that it's never, ever, ever going to happen, but a Yankee boy can dream. Jose Ramirez would be so delicious. It'll never happen, but every Yankee fan would drool. Like it was,
you need to just get that out of your head.
No, listen, I agree. It's never going to happen, but that's like, if we were talking dream scenarios, that would be the one. Okay, let's stay in the AL East. Let's go to the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, Red Sox, that's actually where I had Merrill Kelly landing. I think the Red Sox are looking for a starting pitcher basically for like, hey, in case we make the playoffs, let's have another serviceable starting pitcher in tow, because guys like Walker Buehler and Lucas Giolito are not performing. And I think Merrill Kelly fits the bill as somebody who they're not going to have to pay through the nose for, because I don't think Boston wants to go full buy here. In fact, I think they might even sell other pieces depending on their situation about 10 days from now. So to me, Merrill Kelly's a guy, expiring contract, bit of an older pitcher, not like an ace of aces, but a guy that if you add him to a playoff rotation makes you a little bit deeper. So Merrill Kelly to Boston makes sense to me a little bit.
Yeah, I think if Boston is willing to buy during the deadline, which I'm assuming they will, they've also kind of shown a tendency to like half buy during the deadline. And this is a team that I think has, no shortness of holes. Like they certainly have more than one hole to fill. It's amazing because the first 3 teams we talk about all have, for me, they're all getting somebody from the Diamondbacks. Josh Naylor feels like a Red Sox. He really does.
Interesting.
Josh Naylor feels like a Red Sox. They need somebody to move over to play first base full time. I think they really need somebody in that spot. They lost a big part of the thump in their lineup when they traded Rafi Devers. And Josh Naylor fits that ballpark. He fits the attitude of that ball club. Obviously, from a Yankee fan perspective, he is the perfect Yankee hater sort of player that fits into Red Sox culture in that respect. I don't know. It just feels right. I don't think it's going to cost a ton. Like, it isn't going to cost any of the Red Sox premium young talent. So it makes sense for me. Get him there to play first base. They finally sort of solve that issue. I think that's a good spot for him to land.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I have Josh Naylor going elsewhere to one of 2 places, but I think the only sense in which I think that would make sense for them positionally, the only sense in which it would surprise me is I think Naylor is going to be more expensive than Merrill Kelly. And I am not totally sold on Boston buying all the way in, but it makes sense.
Yeah. All right. So let's shift to I think it's almost unquestionable at this point, the best team in the American League, the Detroit Tigers. Let's talk about them. Where do you have them going?
So I made this the landing spot for Ryan O'Hearn. I think they, in general, are just looking for a bat, for somebody with some thump that they can put in the middle of that lineup. O'Hearn gives you a little bit of positional versatility, being able to play first base or outfield. I think he just lengthens their lineup, and I think Baltimore is going to deal him. So I think that's a pretty decent fit there for them.
So, okay. You went in a much different direction than I did, because I need to double check, because I need to double check if he's on the field right now. But I believe that he is, if I'm not mistaken. because I don't remember hearing any news about it. But I'm going to go bullpen. How about Felix Bautista? Give them somebody in the back of that bullpen that can shut out games, right? Because this is something when you just look at what their bullpen is, and their bullpen's fine, but like if they need to start relying on some of the newer, not as experienced names in their bullpen to close out games in the playoffs, I think that could be a big ask. So even if Felix Bautista is not the name, somebody like Ryan Helsley, I think, is somebody that could make sense there. I don't think they're going to be in the market for Clase because the Guardians won't trade him in division or anything like that. Like, in fact, none of those relievers I think makes sense for them at all. But I do think the Tigers are going to look for big time back end of the bullpen, kind of refine their bullpen, close out some games for them. So Felix Bautista to the Tigers for me.
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to something that we're going to talk about a lot, which is we each only picked one player to go to each team, but a lot of these teams have multiple needs that make sense. I do think Detroit is going to be in the market for a bat and a bullpen arm. So wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. Let's move to the AL West, the Houston Astros. I have an interesting one here that I think you're going to kind of nod your head at, but what do you have?
I've got Brendan Donovan here. I think he's a guy that St. Louis could look to move. And I think Houston's looking for a left-handed bat specifically to put into that lineup. I think it fits like a glove to send Brendan Donovan there.
It does. It fits what they love to do. He's just like one of those like utility positional players that can, I mean, he's a good enough offensive player where he's not a utility guy, but the guy can virtually play every position. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I wish I included Brendan Donovan on any of these. That's such a good one. How about this? He's not having a good year, but I think they could get him at a bargain, and it's a familiar face. Add Charlie Morton to that rotation on just a flat-out discount, because this is a team that has dealt with so many injuries in their rotation. Outside of Hunter Brown and Framber Valdez, I don't know that there's anybody in that rotation I trust. And Charlie Morton might not be the guy. I mean, the guy's ERA is 5.5 in Baltimore, but he was outstanding as an Astro.
Yeah,
they've certainly saw something in him then. And could they kind of make an adjustment for him now? They could get him for a song, I'm sure. Charlie Morton to the Astros, get a familiar face in that rotation.
There are a lot of guys that I wrote down on a separate sheet of paper that I just wrote other HMs, right? Other honorable mentions, just guys that I think are going to move. Mm-hmm. And he's one of those guys that I think will move. And I think that there are a lot of contenders that will see value in him, even from just like a pitchability perspective. Like, think of it this way. If you could take Charlie Morton and put him in your bullpen potentially, or make him a long relief guy, right? Mm-hmm. That could go a long way for a team. Like, Wiley Vet, maybe he throws a little harder out of the pen. I could see somebody doing that. I could see a team that's desperate. Like, I could see the Dodgers going and picking up Charlie Morton too, right? Teams that just need like an inning-eating vet in that rotation. I think that makes a ton of sense. Houston for Morton, I could definitely see. I think that they are going to make a bigger move than that, but it wouldn't surprise me if they also made that move.
Yeah. Let's go to the Seattle Mariners.
So this is my landing spot for Josh Naylor. I actually talked about this as a landing spot for Josh Naylor preseason as a place that he might get traded or a place where he might have signed before he signed with Arizona. I just think that it's, again, like they need all the bats they can handle. Like, I get it. They've been a better offensive team this year than last year. They're still not a good offensive team. And I think Josh Naylor would fit really well there, would give some energy to that lineup, would do all the things that you said he would do for Boston. I think he could also do those things in Seattle. I think he could do those things in Milwaukee. I think he could do those things in a lot of places. But to me, I've got him going to Seattle.
I think so. This is the only one that I don't really love because, and I shouldn't say I love all of them, but this is the only one that I've kind of like I really kind of had trouble with because I really think they need a bat. Like I really, really think they need a bat. So the match here for me, for the Mariners, is Carlos Santana. Now, I think that there's reason to kind of speculate that it wouldn't happen just because he's been in Seattle before and he didn't really play well there. And I understand all of that. He's also 40 years old. But again, they need some semblance of experience, a little bit more pop in that order. I think Carlos Santana makes sense. They can put him at first base. They can move Luke Raley back to the outfield. I think it makes a little bit more sense in that respect. Getting some sort of a bat that has power potential in that lineup, and Carlos Santana, I think, makes a little bit of sense there.
Sure.
It's underwhelming, but I think that, I first of all, I think Carlos Santana is gonna move somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think outside of Naylor and O'Hearn, first base options are going to be pretty thin.
Yeah.
So I think Carlos Santana is the next guy on that list to go.
Yeah, makes sense. I have no objection to it.
So let's now move to the National League. This is going to be fun because you're going to be like, what the hell for my pick for the Dodgers? But let's talk about the Dodgers. Go right ahead.
So the big rumored thing is that the Dodgers are calling Cleveland about a trade for Clase and Kwan in the deal, which I would love. If I think the Dodgers are going to make moves at multiple positions.
Sure.
I'll talk a little bit more about that because once we get done with all these, I want to just run you through a ton of random thoughts.
Okay. Yeah.
Timing be damned. We're having fun, but I went Yohan Duran for the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I feel very confident that they're going to make a move for somebody at the back of the bullpen. The Dodgers and Twins have made a ton of trades with each other in my lifetime, going all the way back to Brian Dozier. I mean, these teams have just made a bunch of deals with each other. I think their front offices like working together. And Duran is exactly the kind of guy that the Dodgers want in their bullpen. Just a flame-throwing stopper at the back end. Somebody to put a little heat on Tanner Scott. You also get a little bit of left-right with Tanner Scott and him late in the game. I think if healthy, it makes the Dodgers bullpen a really scary thing at the end of the game. That being said, the Dodgers are also going to be in the market probably for a starting pitcher of some kind. They're going to be in the market for an outfield bat of some kind. A lot of different directions you can go here. I'm fascinated to see what direction you're going to go here.
Yeah, it's such an underwhelming name. Little note on that too. I don't have a Twin being traded in this sort of list.
Interesting.
I'm just not convinced that they're going to offload. I just don't know that they will. Listen, I could be totally wrong. I'm just saying that I just get a sneaking suspicion that they're just not ready to let it all go yet. But here's the pick for the Dodgers. I went more for a versatility pick here. Let's go from the Angels to the Dodgers. How about the Dodgers get Reed Detmers? Okay. This is sort of like a fit for me where if their starting rotation is so banged up, they can slide him into a rotation spot. If it's not, he provides value in the bullpen. That's sort of where I kind of attacked this, right? So it's not an overwhelming arm. I think the Dodgers could potentially get the best out of him. He's a 26-year-old kid. They have a kind of a track record of rejuvenating lefties in this sort of sense, right? They did the same thing with Anthony Bonda. So I think that they could, do I think they'll probably make bigger moves than this? They probably will. But Reed Detmers screams good Dodger pickup that is going to turn out better than most people, than what it looks like on, face value.
I'm picking up everything you're putting down except one thing. He pitches for the Anaheim Angels. Artie Moreno does not want to make a deal with the Dodgers. He just doesn't. He won't do it.
Well, then let this break the ice, Dalton.
So
let Reed Detmers to the Dodgers break the ice.
I don't think Artie Moreno will do anything to help the Dodgers. I'm just saying. So I'm not expecting any Dodgers-Angels trades. That being said, I think a name like that makes sense. The versatility, the youth, the potential, I wouldn't hate it. I mean, assuming we're not giving up the farm, I wouldn't hate it.
No, I wouldn't think you'd give up the farm. Let's stay in the NL West. Let's go to the San Diego Padres.
I wonder if we're gonna have the same name here. I'm going Luis Robert.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
It's just kind of like the Suarez thing. Like, it's widely rumored he's exactly the kind of player San Diego overpays for. I don't know how much more I really need to say about it. It would be a good fit there potentially. He also could be a total disaster. It's the kind of high risk, high reward San Diego likes involving themselves in.
Yeah, it just feels like it makes sense. Luis Robert looks like he would fit the culture, right? As just one of these young athletic kids that, with tons of tools, and like it looks like it makes sense. And he's exactly the kind of underperformer that the Padres would overpay for. So that I think is something as well. Like, the other rumor surrounding the Padres is Jarren Duran. I don't see how the Red Sox can be buyers and also trade Jarren Duran. So that's the thing. I don't buy that rumor at all. I think if Jarren Duran gets traded, it'll probably be to San Diego. But if it's not to there, it's to nowhere. So
yeah, I agree. I don't think he moves.
I don't think he moves either. So I agree. I think Luis Robert ends up in San Diego, as funny as that is. All right, San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, and I should let you know, I've got a few movers and shakers late on this list. Like, I've got a couple names that you're going to be surprised by as we get into these final few teams. But Giants, not necessarily one of them. I think Ramon Laureano would be a perfect fit. The Giants are looking for a right-handed bat. Ramon Laureano is quietly having a really solid year for Baltimore, batting .283. He's got like 12 homers. I think he'd be a really good fit in that outfield defensively. I think he'd be a really good fit in that lineup. I don't think that the Giants have another huge splash left in them, but somebody like Laureano, I think, is exactly the kind of move that they'll make.
Yeah, this team, this is my landing spot for Ryan O'Hearn. They have a glaring hole at first base. Since they DFA'd Lamont Wade, they've just kind of been going with temporary options at that spot, moving people around, that sort of deal. To me, I think Ryan O'Hearn makes a lot of sense there. And that's kind of where I had the trouble of fitting the Mariners in that mix as well, because I kind of kept that in cycle as well. But Ryan O'Hearn is the pickup for the Giants for me. Yeah,
I think the Giants are the more likely team to go after a Santana, because I think the Mariners are going to be more aggressive than they are. Mm-hmm. But I think both guys can fit in either place.
Yeah, absolutely right. Let's go to the Central, the Chicago Cubs.
The Cubs, I have losing out on the Eugenio Suarez sweepstakes. Now, I should mention this. I have them getting a starting pitcher as well, but it led me to throw a third baseman in this spot. Ryan McMahon from Colorado. Having a little bit of a down year, but I think would be rejuvenated going to a team like the Cubs. Still a lot of talent there. I think he'd fit really well in their lineup. So I think Ryan McMahon to the Cubs would make sense for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've heard Cameron Maben just go absolutely nuts on social media. Just like, this kid just needs a change of scenery. Like, just wait until somebody discovers Ryan McMahon. So it's interesting that you mentioned starting pitching, because I love this fit. I think this is a good spot for Seth Lugo. I think this is a great spot for Seth Lugo. I think this is a team that certainly needs rotation help right now. Down Justin Steele, Imanaga already on the IL. Like, this is a spot here where I think they could use some depth in their rotation. And Seth Lugo, I think, fits the bill in that respect. He's been real good for the past couple of years. Again, another an ERA right now that's sub-3. Experienced guy, 35 years old. I think it makes a lot of sense for the Cubs.
Yeah. You're not going to get an argument from me. I do have him going somewhere before we finish this, but Seth Lugo is a guy I could see going to the Cubs. I could see him going to the Dodgers. Yeah. There are a lot of places on this list that I could see him going, and I think he's going to make a big difference in the playoffs for somebody.
I agree. I agree. I think he's going to be Seth Lugo to me is going to be one of the gems at the deadline.
Yeah.
He really is. All right, the Milwaukee Brewers.
All right, Mike, you ready to have some fun?
Let's go.
So I think this is where the Braves do their little selling. I'm sending Marcell Ozuna to the Brewers.
Yeah, I like that.
Like, you think about what the Brewers lineup is made up of. It's a bunch of speedy slapdick hitters who take really good at bats.
Yeah.
The perfect foil to that is just a big donkey in the middle, DH Marcell Ozuna.
Yeah.
And I could see him mashing in that ballpark the rest of the season. And I think adding a bat like that makes them a lot scarier. I just think, like, for some reason, I couldn't get out of my head. Marcell Ozuna and the Brewers just makes sense to me.
So I do like the direction. So I was thinking about Marcell Ozuna to the Brewers as well. The only thing that held me back on that is that are the Brewers going to feel comfortable putting Christian Yelich in the outfield full time? Like, is that like that's the only because Marcell Ozuna cannot play defense. So, are they just going to say, "Listen, Yelich, you better you better start doing some cardio because you're playing the outfield every day"?
I mean, it's a fair concern, but I think they need a bat badly enough that they're just going to figure it out.
Yeah. No, I think that's absolutely fair. I went in a very similar direction. Trust me, he's not a very good defensive outfielder, but he does have some pop. How about Adolis Garcia to the Brewers? Now, again, this is another player that, is having a bit. I wouldn't even say a bit. He's having a pretty solid down year, but there's no doubt that this guy can hit the ball out of the ballpark. Like, this guy definitely has some pop. There's a lot of all or nothing with him. Like you said, this is a team that just has a lot of slapdick hitters that, they hit a lot of singles and put the ball in play a bunch. They need an all or nothing power type of guy in there in the middle of that order. And I think Adolis Garcia can kind of fit the bill for that.
I think the fit makes sense for the Brewers. I don't hate it. I do not think the Rangers are going to be big sellers. And I read something today from some writer that the Rangers are more than likely going to mostly stand pat at this deadline. So I didn't have any Rangers going anywhere.
Mm-hmm. He's my only one.
And I think especially Adolis Garcia is such a franchise cornerstone for them from that World Series that I just think they're going to be really reluctant to move him. Mm-hmm. If they do decide to move him, Milwaukee would definitely be a team to watch out for. But also, if they decide to move him, San Diego is exactly the kind of team that makes that move as well.
I knew you were waiting for that. All right, let's go to the NL East, the Philadelphia Phillies.
All right, Mike, you ready to get really crazy?
I don't know. How crazy are we feeling?
So I wrote two names down. One of them is my big splash. The other one is, I think, the more realistic one. Mm-hmm. Mike Trout. Like, he's gonna be a Philly at some point, right? Like, it's got to happen.
Yeah.
And the Phillies are looking for an outfield bat. We know Dave Dombrowski likes to make big splashes. Who's to say that they don't move Andrew Painter and a couple prospects and go get Mike Trout? I could see it. Mm-hmm. I could see it. Now, if you want me to be a little bit less crazy, the other right-handed outfielder, Taylor Ward, I think also makes sense here. I think in general, a right-handed outfielder is going to be the primary need for Philly. I think, like everybody else, they're going to be looking for pitching as well. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to go Mike Trout and then in parentheses, Taylor Ward for the Phillies.
I think it's interesting that you bring up Andrew Painter because I kind of had him on the move as well, except I don't have him going to the Angels. I have him going to the Guardians for Emmanuel Clase. I think
steep price for a reliever, Mike.
I listen. It is a steep price for a reliever, but Emmanuel Clase might be the reliever. Like, he might be the guy. Okay, he's put up historic numbers in the past. Okay, last year was one of the best seasons a closer could possibly have. Already this year, again on a Guardians team that is not nearly as good as it was last year, he's still putting up pretty solid statistics here. He's still putting up pretty solid numbers. And the Phillies, as they are currently constituted, have who? Orion Kirkering closing games. Like, is that what they're going to rely on, a 41-year-old David Robertson to close out games? I think this is another team where they're going to be in the Ryan Helsley business. They're going to be in the Felix Bautista business. They're going to be in the Emmanuel Clase business. I think there's a shot that Philly makes a crazy move and goes after the best closer in the game in Emmanuel Clase.
Totally wouldn't put it past him. I had Emmanuel Clase, like, he's written on my honorable mention list because I know he's going to move, but I didn't assign him anywhere.
Yeah, right.
And I wrote Philly, Dodgers, Cubs, Toronto. I think there are a lot of different places that Clase could go. Certainly Philly would make sense.
All right. Last team that we cover, and Met fans will be happy to hear this, the New York Mets make the list of contenders here on the Bicoastal Baseball Podcast. Believe it or not, the New York Mets, Dalton, what do you have?
It's a little bit Carlos Santana to the Mariners coded, but
no.
I think this is the Seth Lugo landing spot. Like, I think the Mets finally give him a chance to be a full-time starting pitcher for the New York Mets. He's exactly the kind of pitcher that they need, exactly the kind of pitcher they seem to enjoy employing, like just older, savvy guys who might not be as crazy stuff-wise in the starting rotation. So I think Seth Lugo would be an excellent addition for the Mets, and I think it would make a lot of sense. That's where I've got Lugo going.
I agree. I think that there's I think the Mets are certainly going to be active in looking for pitching at the deadline. They absolutely will be. I went kind of a different direction because I didn't go because I think the Mets view pitching differently now. I don't think they like going after the established vet anymore. I think they're going to look for players that maybe have a couple of years of control, maybe some guys they can develop. That's why I have Taj Bradley going to the New York Mets. Somebody with a ridiculous amount of upside, 24 years old. I think the Rays are going to look they always do this. The Rays always kind of shuffle pitching around. They shuffle players around. So, and when they trade guys, it makes you think, like, what the hell are they doing? But then they bring somebody up the very next day that's just as good as they are. I think Taj Bradley, 4.5 ERA so far this year, but he's 24 years old, tons of strikeout stuff. I think he has the upside of a top of the rotation starter. And I think the Mets are going to look more in that direction for pitching rather than the Seth Lugos, coming up with names off the top of my head, whatever, but something along those lines. I think they'll go for somebody they can control, somebody they can develop in their pitching lab. I think that's what they're going to go for. So Taj Bradley to the Mets.
I think if that's all the Mets do at the deadline, their fans are going to riot, but I don't hate the thought. I'm also not sold on the Rays selling, but
I don't know if the Rays sell either.
Yeah.
But I think the Rays always make a move or two at the deadline where they just like I said before, they just kind of shuffle pieces.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't view them like trading Taj Bradley as them necessarily selling, right? But I view it as like, okay, like we're in fourth place. Maybe we can just shuffle something around to kind of get us forward to somewhere else. So, all right. So those were the fits. And again, I'm sure we could sit here all day and just come up with stuff, right? Because like, it's not like, okay, I think, Reed Detmers is going to be the Dodgers' big move. Like, it's not that I feel that way, but it just made sense in my head. So
yeah, I do want to mention a few other names that like can move and where I think they might go and get kind of your input on them.
Yeah.
Because there are some pretty big names that we didn't mention that I think are gonna move, right? Mm-hmm. So like, for example, Willie Castro of the Twins. Solid offensive player, can play all over the field, right?
Yeah.
I think he's somebody that would be a great fit with the Dodgers. I think he's somebody that would be a great fit with like the Phillies. I could see, I know there's rumors of this Clase and Kwan thing for the Dodgers. I could see a Joan Duran and Willie Castro deal with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
I think Griffin Jacks of Minnesota. Also a really solid reliever whose numbers are not as good as his peripheral suggest that he is. I think Griffin Jacks moves as well. He's a guy that would make sense in Philly, make sense in LA, make sense in all these places that are looking for bullpen help.
Right. Yeah.
I got a lot of other names here, right? Sandy Alcantara, we barely talked about him. He's going to get moved. So I could talk about this stuff all day. I love it.
Yeah. Sandy Alcantara is a very interesting name because we've talked about him so much on this show. But I agree. I think he will get traded. I don't know. I think he's going to be one of the guys that gets talked about a lot. And maybe there's a lot of hold off on him getting, like, I think he's going to get traded like down to the wire because he's having a bad year. And I think the Marlins are still going to want a pretty solid price for him because of his track record. So I just had trouble finding a fit for Sandy Alcantara. Like I just did. Like when I was making, like he was on my list, he was constantly there, but I was like, okay, for teams that need top of the line pitching, like, I don't think he's going to go to the Mets. Like, I don't think the Mets are going to, like, the Marlins won't trade him in division, right? Like, are the Blue Jays really going to make a move for Sandy Alcantara? I think they have more faith in somebody like Zach Gallen instead. Like, I just don't know where, like, what contender is going to be willing to take a risk on him. So, like, let's have that conversation for a second. If Sandy Alcantara is going to go somewhere, what's the team that's going to be, like, what do you think the team is that will be willing to take the risk on Alcantara?
Two teams that come to mind for me: Chicago Cubs and Houston Astros. I just think that those are both teams that I could just see him pitching for.
Yeah,
I could see it with the Dodgers and a couple others as well, but I think the Dodgers kind of like operating at the trade deadline, sort of the opposite way as that. Like, I think it's more likely you see the Dodgers involved on like a Drew Rasmussen or the Taj Bradley stuff you were talking about with the Mets. That also kind of fits how the Dodgers operate in these spaces as well.
Right.
So, like, I don't know. I mean, there are so many different moving parts, which is the fun thing about being 10 days before the deadline.
Yeah, right.
But Alcantara, I'll go Cubs or Astros.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense.
Let me throw a couple more names at you, Mike.
Yeah.
Eric Fetty.
I don't know. I mean, I don't like. Are the Cardinals giving up? Like, are they?
I think they're going to sell. I don't know how aggressively they're going to sell, but I think they're going to sell. I think Eric Fetty is going to be a guy that's just going to go to some team that like is desperate for pitching. I could see him being.
He could go to like Detroit. Or something like that as just like not even like a depth arm, but like an insurance arm in a sense for them. That to me, I think would make sense. Like, I don't know that any team's going to deal for him for like with the plan of like inserting him in a premium position as a playoff starter.
Right.
So
I also here are some other position player names that I think could move. These aren't exciting names. They're just names that I think are going to move. Nate Lowe, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Ahmed Rosario.
I feel pretty confident that Ahmed Rosario is going to move. Yeah. It seems like he moves every deadline.
The Dodgers love trading for Ahmed Rosario. That could happen. Who knows? I'd prefer we not go that route for the third time. I'd like to try something different. But anyway, that's all I got. I just wanted to throw some more names at you and get some thoughts. Oh, you know what? One more name we should talk about is Ryan Helsley. He's going to end up somewhere, right? Maybe Philly.
Yeah, I think you're going to see Philly, Detroit, but like you're going to see somebody in that space looking for a closer. I want to kind of talk about the Pirates a little bit as a seller because, I mean, it just seems like they've got so many names that they're willing to move, right? Like Mitch Keller, Brian Hayes is somebody that I think they're interested in moving. Like you said before, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, I think, is on that list. Where do you see? I mean, like Mitch Keller is a really interesting one. There have been so many rumors tossed around about him. There was a big rumor out today that the Yankees are kind of like a front runner for Mitch Keller. What do you think happens in that department?
he's a guy I'd love to see the Dodgers go after. He's a guy I think I think a lot of teams would like to go after him because he's under team control through 2028, and there's a lot in that tank.
Mm-hmm.
The tough thing for the Pirates is the position player cupboard is just so bare there. Like, and even a guy like Tommy Pham that like could be a potentially useful trade piece.
Mm-hmm.
You and I have talked a lot about how guys just don't like dealing with Tommy Pham in their clubhouse.
No, they don't.
And so, like, I think they might struggle to get value for Tommy Pham and struggle to find it worth moving him.
Yeah.
Ke'Bryan Hayes, like, can he hit at all?
He's a sensational defender.
He is.
At third. But you're right. He's really struggled at the plate since he's come up.
So, I guess, like, I'll put it this way. Like, I would love if the Dodgers wanted to replace Miguel Rojas with Ke'Bryan Hayes as their bench infielder, great. But I don't think the Pirates are going to want to move him at a price that a team's going to want to pay for a bench infielder.
How about Nolan Arenado?
I mean, again, I could see him moving. It definitely won't be the Dodgers. The Dodgers have said no to Nolan Arenado countless times.
It definitely won't be the Yankees either. They've said no a trillion times.
And I think that's telling, right? Like, I think there are a lot of teams that are not believers in Nolan Arenado at this point in his career. I think if he gets moved, it'll be for an underwhelming type of deal.
Yeah.
If you ask me to play matchmaker, like, does he end up in Milwaukee? I'm just trying to think of teams that are just like that just need a bat, right? Like, does he end up in Seattle? I don't know.
Yeah. No, listen. Well, you got to ask yourself too, right? Is the contract worth, upgrading over Ben Williamson, or you know what I mean? Like, it might be. So
that's the thing. I just don't think St. Louis is going to get a lot for him unless they eat a lot of money.
I'm sure in any deal for Arenado, St. Louis is going to have to eat cash.
Yeah,
they're going to have to eat cash. But again, we could talk about this all day. But let's go to the hot corner, Dalton, as we, sort of head to the end of the program here. What do you have?
I'm going full homer tonight. I'm wearing the Dodger hat for a reason. It's funny. I got a new Twins hat when I was at the game last Friday, and I was going to wear it. I got their City Connect one. Mm-hmm. I'll save it for next week when the Dodgers aren't playing the Twins. Dodgers run line -1.5. We're fighting fire with fire here. You can get it at +115 as an alternative if you'd rather. I also like the Dodgers team total, which you can get over 4.5 at -130. Look, David Festa is extraordinarily mid. The Twins are coming down from altitude, and the betting numbers over years and years for teams, their first game after playing a road series in Colorado, are usually not good. I think the Dodgers had some pretty, we'll call them charged conversations after yesterday's game, because it was a game that was just so obviously lost by giving away outs, and it's something that they did all weekend, that I think the Dodgers are going to be a very focused and intense team tonight. Mm-hmm. And you get Shohei on the mound for possibly 4 innings. He's looked unhittable. I think the Twins offense has 5 or 6 innings available to them to score runs tonight.
Right.
And Dustin May is going to come in after Ohtani, hopefully eat a couple innings. I just think the Dodgers can get to David Festa for 3 or 4 at a minimum. And I just think they're going to overwhelm them tonight. So I would go Dodgers 8, Phillies 2, or excuse me, Dodgers 8, Twins 2 tonight. That's just kind of how I see tonight going. So homer pick, call it what you will, but I feel it in my plums.
Listen, sometimes you got to make plums picks, man. Like sometimes you just got to do that. F everything else. Just pick with your plums.
I do what you got to do.
Yeah, that's it, man. All right. That does it for us. That's Dalton Brown. I'm Mike Guido. This is the Bicoastal Baseball Podcast, exclusively here on the Grid Network. Trade deadline time. It's coming, and it's coming close. We'll have another show before it ends, before the date comes next week. I'm sure that we're going to have plenty to talk about next week, by the way, too. It's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you tune in for that. Mondays, 8 o'clock Eastern, here on the Grid Network. We will see you next week.